I Think You Should Leave.
Is that a new one?
No, it was like season 2. And they he puts him on the floor, and the guy's like hitting him with his foot. He's like, quit fucking with them.
Welcome to Culture Copia podcast.
Yes.
Season 3, episode 2. Today, we're going to be talking about dinosaurs.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Not the mama.
Which, by the way, that's a really good show.
Oh, that was a great show. I think it's on Hulu.
It's on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay, yes.
Disney Plus.
Nice.
Which you can get, I guess, in a bundle with Hulu and ESPN Plus.
Yes, you can.
Well.
I am
That's
mooching
what I
that
have.
off my brother-in-law.
Don't let Disney hear you say that.
Yeah.
Now
They're not
listen.
going to care about the music, but Disney will come for their money.
I was gonna say we're under the radar for certain things, but Disney will definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They will sue their mom.
They've got people. Yeah.
Disney will.
Well, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh gosh.
You're up
pressure.
with dinosaurs, man. So, we were just talking about this the other day.
We were. Yeah, absolutely.
Or was it earlier today?
It was today.
Yeah, it was today, as a matter
One
of
of my
fact.
all-time favorite movies, Jurassic Park. Which, of course,
Yes.
there's a lot of dinosaur stuff out there. But, when you're talking about dinosaurs and we're talking about pop culture, yeah, man, Jurassic Park.
You can go back and watch it now, and it's not even dated. Like
It's-
It still holds up. I still think the CGI of the dinosaurs in the first Jurassic Park are amazing.
Objectively, maybe the greatest movie ever made.
I'll second that. Well, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to come up
It is
with one
dinosaurs.
better.
You can keep
It's,
your you can keep your Citizen Kane. You can keep your
Rosebud. T-Rex is biting it in half. It's pretty solid. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it's all right. I remember seeing the theater and being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That dinosaur tried to fucking eat me from the cinema screen.
Right.
It looked so good. It looked amazing, and the music was good.
So
Yeah.
oddly enough, sometimes when you have these this series of movies, we'll use Star Wars for example because there's so many of them, and I could rank them, and it's kind of mix match. I could say okay, Episode 5 is my favorite, and it kind of moves around, bounces around from here to there. When we're talking about Jurassic Park, it kind of goes downhill in succession that way. It's
I would
it really
agree.
does.
with
I'd
each
agree.
sequel, it gets less and less interesting to me. And it's not that they're not great movies, although I can't judge the most recent Jurassic
one?
World
You didn't
because
see it?
I have not watched that one.
I refuse to literally go see it because it is dinosaurs in a winter landscape, and I was just like,
Well, not the whole movie.
but still,
There is.
they would have died.
Yeah.
They're warm-blooded
They're
reptiles.
not called Live-Nosaurs.
Right.
I haven't seen that new one
That
yet
was
either.
fucking
I've just
stupid.
seen the preview for it, and before seeing the preview for it, my wife and I were out in the lobby playing video games, and they have one of these Jurassic Park. You jump in the game, and you've got the guns, and you're riding around the Jeep, and we're blowing these motherfuckers up.
Oh,
as
that
they're running
arcade
around,
game was so
zapping
fun.
them.
The
Then
old
we get in there,
they used to have those at Chuck E. Cheese and
They got it. I thought they still had it up at Dave & Buster's.
maybe it's been a while since I've been out there.
They had one at the Waringburg for a minute. And,
Yeah, that's gone.
Or Ronnie's, rather.
Man, that was my favorite arcade
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, man. And so
Outside of Cruising USA.
we're playing that, and then the theater, we get in the movie, they show the clip for this thing, and it's Friends with the Dinosaurs, and me and my wife just look at each other we just murdered a heap of those.
That's what my dad said. That's what my dad said. We went to go see the new one, and my dad's like, dinosaurs didn't act like dogs.
So is Greg the only one here who has seen the most recent?
I guess
Did you
I
say
am.
you have or haven't?
I have not seen it, just the
You haven't seen it, Rob?
trailer.
I have
rather.
not.
So let me ask you then, your personal opinion, and I'll take it for what it's worth. But so that's the sixth one. Better or worse than number 5?
Okay.
There's 5 of them. Fuck.
Okay,
There's
yeah,
6.
I'll say it was. Yeah,
There's
I'll say it was
6.
better than
God.
5. Before I went to go see it, you hear all the reviews, and it kind of got bad reviews. I heard a lot of people.
Well, they brought Jeff Goldblum back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's the whole crew.
Life
Everybody
finds a way.
They have
I thought it was cool that both worlds were meeting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Allen and
They're all there.
Dr. Stassler or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, they're all there, and both of the worlds are combining. They have to come together.
So it's unfortunate for me then, because I think, like I said,
I thought it was decent.
well, as I watch each one, and I thought Jurassic World was okay, and then they did what was it, Fallen Kingdom?
I don't know the name. I just
And
know
then the
the
newest one was Dominion.
Dominion
whatever,
is the new one. Yeah.
So Fallen Kingdom really, really soured me. Like, I was just like, this is they made some sort of like abomination, like mutant hybrid dinosaur.
Yeah. See, that's what I didn't really care for that.
And
aspect
Dr.
of the
what was
plot.
his name? B.D. Wong's character from the very first one, who was like he was the guy in the lab,
scientist guy.
that was like when the eggs are hatching. He played
Right.
kind of a small part in the first one, and all of a sudden he's like the main villain of number
now
5.
he's a bad guy.
And he's like a mad scientist.
Yeah, now he's a bad guy.
and it just really went off the rails, man. Like,
Is that the one with Dominus Rex?
yeah,
It's
the like strange
it's a chameleon. It's got a different.
Who
It's
knows
got different.
what it is.
Well, too, and then they got
different
like the
reptiles.
Giganosaur where they're mixing like velociraptors and T-Rexes.
Okay, is this the first Christopher Pratt one that we're talking about?
That's the second.
Second one is when they start.
So
really-
in
Okay, I haven't seen. So there's
In that series of 3, there's 6 films total. The original trilogy, and then the Jurassic World trilogy.
Okay, so
Right.
I've only seen the first one. I haven't even seen the fifth one. Then.
the fifth one.
You could probably skip it.
Yeah, I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
I think we didn't see it because we didn't hear.
It was
good
kind of
things about
terrible.
it. And honestly, it was kind of like the first one compared to the second one.
It's a cash grab.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay,
Well,
that's what they're gonna jam down our throats
and look,
again.
I
'Cause
mean-
the second one was all right, but it wasn't as good.
The
second-
Lost World was good. I liked it. Okay, I'll go fuck myself. No,
Wait, the Lost World was number
I haven't seen
3,
this.
right?
no, the Lost World was
Or
number 2.
Yeah, that was all right.
Is number 2 the one where they have to go back to save the kid? There's a kid that's on the island.
That's 3.
okay.
Yeah,
so that,
yeah.
Okay.
With
See,
what's her?
this is- I get confused.
With Teo
Leone.
Leone. Yeah, that was the
Leone.
third one. Right.
And William H. Macy, and
Yeah,
that's where Grant comes back,
yeah.
because he wasn't in the second one. Ian Malcolm was like the main character. But speaking of main characters, and this is actually what we were talking about, Rob, that you said we were just actually talking about this. I had read before that they had originally considered Harrison Ford for the role of Dr. Alan Grant.
Oh yeah. I guess I could see it.
And they shied away from it because essentially what it came down to was they were like, we don't want a big star attached to this because the dinosaurs are the star. The special effects are the star. And I kind of agree with that, because you put somebody like Harrison Ford in that role, and then it's like, oh, look, it's Indiana Jones with dinosaurs.
Yep.
Right.
And he becomes the main focus of the film, versus now we're just wrapped up in this story and the action of these like beasts that are running around. And
I was gonna say,
really
you
cool,
you
man.
watch Jurassic Park, you're watching it for the dinosaurs.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
screw the story. Like, I just want to see some dinosaurs.
Well, it's a great story, you know. And
Oh yeah.
some of the pseudoscience is kind of bullshit, but you know, it's still fun, and I'm along for the ride, you know.
Yeah.
And Hammond, you find yourself, you know, you're like with any film, you're kind of looking at characters like, ooh, do I like this guy? Do I not like this guy? Was he some sort of antagonist? And you end up really feeling for him, and you're like, man, he just wanted to make something special. You know, and because even in the beginning, you're thinking like, oh, okay, so him and the lawyer are on the same side, so I'm not supposed to like this old guy, this old rich millionaire, you know. But then you're like, oh no, I mean, especially the end. I think like one of my favorite lines is Grant gets in the Jeep or Hammond or whatever, and he says, Mr. Hammond, after a lot of consideration, I've decided not to endorse your park. And he goes, as have I.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, you know, it's just one of those things where he's just like, I fucked up, man. Sorry, guys.
I still use a line sometimes. Just because we could doesn't mean we should.
Just
right.
Because, you know,
good one.
your scientists were so busy. You know, you
It's
got
like,
to do that.
If we could, they didn't stop to think.
The Jeff Goldblum.
If we should.
Stammer and pauses. The little,
You see, now I'm sitting here talking to myself.
One of my favorite little bits of symbolism in the very beginning is when the helicopter is coming in. They're kind of hitting that rough patch of air, and Grant can't get his seatbelt together, you know, and they're like, oh, he's got two mismatched pieces and they won't click together. And he has, if you notice, It's 2 female pieces
Right.
of the seatbelt, and he ties them together and makes a seatbelt because life
Finds
a
a
way.
way.
And that was the symbolism, when he's like, hey,
really interesting foreshadowing. I never thought about it that way.
The all-female
Yeah.
dinosaurs and that they can't reproduce, and then we find out that they were spliced with amphibian DNA that under certain circumstances can,
Which is true. That's true.
will mutate and
Actually,
change.
I mean, it's a lot more too than amphibians.
Yeah.
Like, I think seahorses can.
Yeah. And
Worms.
Yeah.
Worms are unisexual, aren't they? Like, they can reproduce themselves.
By themselves, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about worms.
I think you're right about that.
And I didn't do my research prior.
But like what Dr. Ian Malcolm was talking about, like, in the absence of, both sexes, like, animals are known to do that, to switch sexes, and like that's a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But
life has to go on.
It does. It's still there's a few little continuity errors in the film, which are fun to kind of point out. I hate it, but at the same time, it's when they're when the car gets pushed off the edge, and like moments before it was a flat land where the dinosaur just broke out of the.
Right,
oh, yeah,
and now it's a drop,
and now all of a sudden it's like a 50-foot drop,
right?
For no reason.
Yeah, I always wondered that too.
Yeah. So
yeah,
but I loved the kind of like, and this is just me kind of geeking out because I'm a big I love like P.T. Barnum and anything with that, and sort of the similarities between him and John Hammond and when he's explaining the flea circus, and like that was the kind of things that P.T. Barnum used to do back in the day when he was starting out, and then he built something that was larger than life and had a name that outlived him, and that was kind of where Hammond envisioned his park was, I think we all kind of want that in our lives, at least some of us,
So are you guys aware that they're in the works for an actual, I don't want to call it a Jurassic Park, but a prehistoric park, and they are going to bring back the woolly mammoth. Have you guys heard about this?
I have heard
this
about
year is the year that
Is it this? I thought it was coming up.
I read 2024. They're supposed to introduce the first woolly mammoth
Right.
to Russia.
So
Siberia
there's a little
is
bit of
where they're going
science
with
to it.
Oh,
what
yeah.
they were saying is megafauna like the mammoth. Matt or Nate, are you aware of any of this talk? Anything in the tech side?
I've heard what's coming out of Russia. I mean, as far as some of that goes, it depends what you
besides the nukes.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys caught the interview with Tucker Carlson and Putin.
Oh no,
No.
Pretty interesting to watch that. Putin talks a lot about a lot of things, but one of the things he talks about is genetics and cloning. And he talks about the idea from the perspective that, we've got it figured out. Yeah, we clone people. Yeah, this stuff has been done.
Yeah.
On this side of the world, we're like, nobody does that. That's not happened. So what I'm getting at is the genetic technology that's disclosed and allowed and in use is probably going to pop up here when we clone, what is it, a woolly mammoth, you said?
A woolly mammoth, and I believe I want to say is that it's
I believe
an
it's
existing
possible.
elephant. It's a black elephant or something, or red elephant or something like that. So it's not going to be a full-on woolly mammoth, but the technology that they're using is mentioned in Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, where they take an existing animal and they combine it with the DNA.
Just splice it in.
Correct. Now, you got to be asking yourself, like, well, why are they doing this? Well, there's some kind with the tundra and everything, and mostly like Russia is like frozen tundra.
Right.
They're saying that megafauna like the woolly mammoth helps with global warming. And there's some kind of science behind it. I forget exactly what it is, but it's like the
it's all the carbon dioxide or whatever that's in the ground. In the permafrost.
Is released gradually.
Right. The woolly mammoths, not mastodons, the woolly mammoths in their size, just them trampling down softens the permafrost and allows this carbon monoxide or dioxide, whatever it is, up into the atmosphere, like in a natural way.
In a natural way,
Really?
instead of So it's got something to do.
Like that's really why they're bringing the woolly
They're not
mammoth
doing
back.
it because they could.
They're doing it to help the Siberian.
They were so busy
environment.
thinking about whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think about whether or not they should.
I think that's awesome.
But it sounds like they're doing it for.
You know what though? There was also talk
exposure.
that they want to bring back the saber-tooth tiger because they'll need a predator.
Oh Jesus!
For
This won't
the-
go wrong.
Well, what's
woolly
wrong with
mammoths.
man?
Interesting.
Because that's what wiped out the mammoth the first time.
Right, and that's what I heard too. Like that's the thing with woolly mammoths.
Could you
is
imagine?
the woolly mammoths didn't die out like the dinosaurs did.
No, they went extinct because of man.
Who
They
killed
went
the
extinct.
Okay,
dinosaurs?
so could you
Because of
imagine like
us.
a
We
Hunger
did.
Games scenario where it's like, okay, you drew your number. Guess what? We're shipping you to fucking Russia to go hunt fucking mammoths. Good luck if you live.
Yeah,
You know, you're gonna have to
there's a saber-tooth tiger out there,
Dude,
by
that'd
the
be
way.
crazy. Hunger Games for hunting mammoths.
right. Like,
Would you get a gun in this scenario, or do you get a forged
No,
weapon?
no. It
Dude,
would be-
they killed them without guns.
I was gonna say no modern weapons. We're talking stone tipped spears and bow and arrows.
Right.
And
Well, I would
Rob,
imagine.
would you take that if they said they were going to pay you $100,000 if you could take one down?
for $100,000,
I'd try
yeah, I
it.
would.
Do you try it? Would you
I'd
guys
try
try
it.
it?
I'd try it.
I'd do it for
$100K.
$100.
$100 this boy's in.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I'm on
If they're
board.
like,
Now they're
$100,000,
paying for my
here's a steak
flight
and a-
over.
They're
Yeah,
gonna pay
every-
for
okay,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
They're going to land you there. If you die, it's on you. But
Yep.
if you kill it, you get $100K
If
and
you
they'll
hit-
fly you
okay.
home.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Well, okay. Let me back up. If I was one-on-one with a mammoth, no, I wouldn't. How woolly mammoths died out? They had like packs of like cavemen,
right.
Yeah.
and from what I understand was they knew how to like
The sweet spot.
the sweet spot in the land or whatever, and they would like herd it off a cliff.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
believe that.
So that's how
Yeah.
they use
Right.
the terrain and everything to their advantage.
You got to use the terrain to your advantage. You see the tar pits the tar pits where they dig up
Yes.
tons of mammoth
La
bones from.
La Brea tar pits.
I mean, that'd probably be my play. I'd be trying to,
Yeah.
come on, you bastard, get the tar pit. If there's still tar pits in the
You got a
tundra,
tar
I'm
pit
assuming a
covered
lot
up
right
with
now.
like leaves.
I'd be putting out what do they eat? What does a woolly mammoth eat? Are
Grass.
they vegetarian?
vegetation.
vegetation. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
You have to put out some salads or some shit.
But
to
can you
Right,
imagine
right.
like
bait it. It might be
they
tough to put out
they
woolly
got them
mammoth
and
bait.
then they get some kind of disease and it mutates and then it makes them rabid or something, and then they start taking out mankind.
No, they start herding and living around Chernobyl.
Oh god.
Then they all become radioactive.
Chernobyl's on our list, by the way.
It is.
I just watched that series again the other day for like the 4th or 5th time.
So that we'll decide at the end of this episode what our next couple topics are. So
Well, we have to ask the question: favorite dinosaurs outside of Jurassic Park.
favorite.
Yeah,
dinosaurs.
okay, good. That's a good one, Matt.
Gosh, what do you mean outside of Jurassic Park? Like
Well, don't think of just Jurassic Park dinosaurs.
Okay, I get it. Just
you
all
know.
dinosaurs. Ooh, you're gonna have to come back to me.
Uh-huh. You got one, Rob?
I'm thinking about it.
Raptors. And I'm gonna admit a lot of it's Jurassic Park informed.
Right,
but,
right.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy animals. Like they smart. They
They're
hunt
just-
packs
the
and they're kind of
smartness of
vicious
them.
and
Right.
yeah. I'm going with Raptors. They're pretty badass.
They're not as big as they were portrayed in the movie.
No.
I didn't know that, but somehow that doesn't hurt my vote. I can picture them being tiny.
No,
and
they'd
vicious,
still
and
fuck
that's
you up.
pretty
I
entertaining.
think
They're still dangerous.
like what 4 foot,
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
they're not no 6 foot, 6 to 8 foot.
And they were likely covered in feathers.
I believe
That's
that.
what I was gonna
Some of the
say too.
birds that
Like
are around
remember, like the first Jurassic Park, no feathers, but then like. As time went on, I guess they started like real scientists and paleontologists or whatever.
But they
decided. Now you see raptors with like a few feathers sticking out of their head.
They do mention it in the first film.
About them being birds.
Dr.
they never
Grant says maybe they have more in common with the common bird than they do reptiles.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So my favorite, I had to think about it for a minute. I think my favorite dinosaur would be a Stegosaurus or a Triceratops.
I like Triceratops.
I like them. I like those brachiosaurs. Those big long neck
With the hump.
motherfuckers. Yeah,
With the hump on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seem kind of docile, and from what I've,
I would say T-Rex, but that's just because of the Jurassic Park movies. If you notice in the Jurassic Park movies, the T-Rex is always the one that saves them at the end of the movie. It's the T-Rex
well,
saves them.
I think that's an understatement to the paleontology world in general, right? Like the dinosaurs that kids love and that gain the most interest are the T-Rexes, the Brontosauruses, the Stegosaurus, the ones that are most unique. You know, I as a kid had never heard of a raptor until Jurassic Park.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, I've read some things. You know, they, you know, in studies and everything, they've found that T-Rex was likely
a scavenger.
A scavenger,
Yeah.
not so much a predator, but would just kind of come and pick apart. What's the one with like the real hard bone on its head that like locks its neck into place and comes and just like
Does it start with a P? I think it starts with a P.
Yeah, essentially like spears its prey. Those are kind of
all those
too.
Latin names, man, are just
those are kind of neat.
They
They kind of showcase those in the
and then there's the Ankylosaurus. There's like armored and had the tail.
With
the spike.
Yeah, those are kind of neat.
Well, they had like a did they have spikes? I know Stegosaurus had the spikes at the end.
It had it on its tail.
Yeah. Do you guys remember an animated film called We're Back?
Yeah.
A Dinosaur's Tale.
That was after my time.
To
give you an idea,
that was an old
Late Night Time with Land Before Time was probably around.
I saw that one.
Okay, Land Before Time's a classic, but We're Back. It was a dinosaur's tale or dinosaur story, something like that. And it's a Don Bluth, so it kind of has the feeling of like the old like Troll in Central Park, or he did like the Brave Little Toaster movies and stuff like that. But it's this scientist comes up, basically invents like a time machine, but he also invents this machine that can turn like these angry, predatory, essentially monsters, these dinosaurs. He goes back and he gets, a couple of them, and it turns them into like docile creatures and actually makes them sentient, where they can, communicate with humans and stuff like that. And they're like cute little cartoon characters. And John Goodman is the voice of like the main, it's like the T-Rex.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar now.
And they're in New York City.
They're
and I think they're actually like there's a scene where they're in like the Macy's parade, and he's like singing a song, and everybody's like, "Look, that's the dinosaurs.
We're back."
Yeah.
I'm going to take you back to something. You guys may not remember this because you may be a little bit young. Do you remember Dino the dinosaur?
Dino from Flintstones?
Oh, I'm sorry, from Denver.
Denver the Last Dinosaur.
Denver the Last Dinosaur.
I don't.
I know a little bit about it, but that's basically because my wife grew up with it and would mention it to me, and I didn't really know about it until she kind of pulled it up and was like, "Yeah, you don't remember this?" I'm like, "It looks vaguely familiar," but yeah, Denver the Last Dinosaur was a series, right? It was a TV series.
It was a TV series, yeah.
Yeah. I also see
Land Before Time.
Well, Land Before Time is a classic. Now, you want to talk about sequels on sequels on sequels. They're about like 16 or 17 deep on
Are they
movies.
really?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Most of them are like straight to like DVD releases and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like nothing like the original. But yeah, they like you look up Land Before Time and look up all the like subsequent films. Dude, there's a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Of them. There's one where it kind of explores like Petrie's like family and his background. And it's called like the Great Day of the Flyers or something. Yeah. So yeah, they've got a ton of those.
Okay, and here's another one for you. Dinosaurs. Do you guys remember that? They were like dinosaurs from space.
Whoa.
No. You don't remember
that I
either?
do not.
No.
That I do not.
That's a throwback right there.
Okay, something that's not a throwback, but it does remind me of that. Have you guys seen the movie 65? It just came out last year.
Missed that one.
It's Adam Driver, and
I know what you're talking. I have not seen it.
So essentially, what it is, he's from another planet, and this planet, has intelligent life, essentially humanoid, aliens, and he's on a mission. He's piloting this spaceship. It's a futuristic kind of like in comparison to where we are now, and the ship crash lands on this planet, which turns out to be Earth millions of years ago. So he crash lands on this planet where there's all these dinosaurs. And, of course, it's right at the time when you find out the small asteroid that crashed into his ship that made him crash land was just a smaller part of this bigger, meteor shower that's about to hit this planet, and he's got to get up this mountain to find the escape pod that essentially fell off the back of this ship.
Okay.
And it's a bad movie.
A bad good. It's a good bad movie,
but I enjoyed it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's one of those.
Yeah. It's. I think it has the potential to be kind of like a little like a cult following type movie where maybe 20 years from now people will be like, "Oh, you haven't seen this terrible, amazing movie." Yeah. Not a cinematic masterpiece by any means, but definitely worth
a watch.
Checking out.
Yeah.
So, although dinosaurs extinct, do you still see reminiscence of dinosaurs and modern creatures anywhere? If you're looking at something, you're like, that
I look at birds.
could have been a carryover.
Birds.
I look at birds and think dinosaurs now.
What about you?
Man, birds as well. I look at stuff like the feet of the birds with the claws and stuff, and then the attitude. Like a Canadian goose, for example. When I roll up on a goose, that thing's just like,
Oh man, those things are
grilling me.
mean.
Like,
Right.
what's up, son?
It's like
It's
Ain't
the
going
size
nowhere.
of
Crocodiles and alligators.
What's up?
Yeah.
I'm like, the confidence coming off of this bird is disproportionate
Right.
to its damage it could do to me, but
Yeah.
it is convinced it is like 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
Sharks.
Yep, sharks.
Shark-
Sharks.
Megalodon.
I heard sharks stopped evolving. Like, I don't know if that's pish. I haven't looked it up on the internet since I heard it, but somebody said basically like sharks have like genetically figured it out. They're the apex predators of their environment. And they don't have to
I've
evolve
seen
any
that.
further, and they just
That seems
coast.
true.
I kind of believe it.
And then whales.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I don't think so, because whales were originally were they originally fish? And then they grew feet and
No, I would assume that.
they were part like
know, man.
hippopotamuses, and then they went back to being a man, and then they were like a
that's
full-on
worth
mammal.
I feel like they would have had to
into.
power level real hard because whales are so intelligent and their communication is so sophisticated. And I look at a fish, I'm like, man, that is a deviant in the genetic.
I'll have to look it
branching.
up, but there
Somebody
is
just didn't get the upgrades.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
they
they
were-
are classified as mammals and not fish.
correct.
So maybe there's a reason for that.
They
you
evolved
know?
into like land animals, and then from land animals back into
Maybe that's why.
marine mammals, and
Interesting.
yeah, and some of their fins you can like they have remnants of like
Well, you mentioned
feet bones and stuff.
Whoa.
you mentioned
That's
alligators
wild.
and crocodiles. Like, I don't think those have evolved anymore since.
Yeah,
Because
the
I mean
crocs.
they were around in prehistoric times.
Yeah.
They're dinosaurs.
I think
Yeah.
they're smaller these days, but yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's about it.
But like for the most part, like
some
crocs and
though,
that-
some crocs can get pretty damn big.
saltwater crocs.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
And they've got so many cool powers, like they can slow their heart rate down and just wait in the water. And
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I mean their survival stuff is just so good. I could see they'd be around for a while.
Like you
Right.
said, it kind of carries over from that, that old, like sort of the prehistoric. Well, sticking with the prehistoric creatures, and Rob kind of touched on like aquatic animals, like the megalodon. Have you ever seen like the Meg?
Haven't seen that.
The shark.
Have you seen the movie?
There's
the
a
Meg?
Oh, the Meg. No, I haven't seen the movie.
Another one that's just kind of like, all right, that's a cute little quirky movie. Fun.
Another one, Titanoboa.
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 I'm assuming some sort of serpent.
Yeah, it's a snake, but it's from prehistoric times, and
Well, it's not better than the anaconda.
My anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hon.
What is that? That can't be a real snake. Holy.
it is a real snake. It's extinct. Do you see the picture of it?
Yeah, I can see it from here.
That is a gigantic.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
To the Jurassic era. Okay, maybe so there. Maybe so.
I see that every
It's-
morning.
It's probably 60, 70, 80 feet tall, long or something like that. It's got a circumference of, probably 6 feet, maybe.
That's ridiculous.
This
Just
thing has a
swallow you
diet
whole.
of villagers and cows.
It could
Yeah.
swallow you whole.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the Amazons get some funky stuff. I bet that's in there.
Right.
They're burning down the Amazon, not for long.
No.
Right.
So-
Unleash one of them
something's
beasts
coming
on
out
you.
of there. Something's coming out of there.
Yeah. And then we can't discuss dinosaurs that are actually talking about the show from the 90s Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yes.
Classic.
It's so good.
Classic.
Yes.
Anytime I see Earl, the dad, Earl Sinclair, I think Dan Connor.
I think it's Dan Connor too.
Right?
I think it's on purpose.
I think it's the flannel shirt.
The flannel shirt, the chubby dad likes
Right.
beer, he's a laborer,
Right.
He's like a
Common man,
blue collar guy.
Right.
Maybe a little backwards in some of his ideals, but he learns and he grows with each episode. That show is actually intended for adults.
Yeah.
I did know that.
Yeah, it's and it's not overly, crude or crass or anything, but it's not by any means just a kid's show. You go back and watch some of those old episodes and you're like, oh yeah, they have a whole episode about like sexual harassment. And it's very much like it was intended for like, hey, it's kind of like that, the Roseanne and all those other shows, like, hey, it's like that, but just like Jim Henson and
Right.
puppets and people walking around in costumes. And
It's been a while since I've seen some of the episodes, but
dude, that's
I'm gonna have to start it back up.
that is
I
a
have to
start
staple
watching it.
in our house.
Yeah.
Has
I can see
been
that.
Yeah.
has been for ever since Amy and I've been together. We've always watched it together. The girls like it. They like the little characters and stuff. So definitely, we're watching that a lot. At least a couple episodes a week or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I find crazy because we've always grown up with dinosaurs, right? There was a time in human history where, George Washington did not know about dinosaurs. Like, dinosaurs did not exist during George Washington's time. They found bones and stuff, but they thought they were giants. They thought they belonged to giants, not actual dinosaurs.
Like they didn't have
an understanding of evolution.
Right.
And
That is interesting to think about.
if you think it's like just a couple hundred years.
You know what it makes me wonder? It makes me wonder what we don't know right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's things that we don't
Lots.
understand. Well, yeah, but there's things that we're uncovering. I mean, wasn't it just not too many years ago that they found out that there's bodies under that those Easter Island head statues that they started digging down? They're
I
like,
didn't know that.
yeah, they're not just heads. There's bodies attached to those heads.
Oh, okay. I did think I thought I saw that they were like buried.
Yeah, not bodies buried under, but like that the Easter
Statues
Island heads
themselves, body.
are not just heads. As you dig down, the statue itself has a body attached to it.
I can't believe they didn't
There's so
think
many
to
mysteries
dig
on that
before
island.
though.
Well, yeah, we just lived for so long assuming that, somebody put a bunch of heads here.
Well, Easter Island's kind of locked down. You can't really do much in there as far as like excavation
Right.
stuff
Oh,
goes.
yeah, true.
They actually just got a huge fire too, and also there's Rongo. I think that's the language. It's written all over stuff.
Yeah.
And to this day, no one can translate what those things are talking about.
See, and that's what I mean. Now, a couple hundred years from now, maybe people are going to be
Maybe
talking
someone's
about, can you believe that, around this time they didn't know Rongo. They didn't know how to decipher that. They didn't know that this
Right.
sect of, humanity was, there and communicating this way. So it just kind of makes you wonder. If,
Okay,
Think
talk
about,
about Egyptian hieroglyphic or
hieroglyphics.
hieroglyphics. There was a time where humanity didn't know that until the Rosetta Stone was found in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, and because they didn't even have a direct translation of hieroglyphics, it was like Latin, and they understood Latin.
Right.
And then it could translate from Latin to Egypt.
I'm pretty sure it was Napoleon who actually got the
I think you're
excavation
right.
of the Rosetta Stone.
Yes, I think you're right.
Napoleon went out to Egypt because Napoleon was on some mystic stuff basically, and he even spent a night in the Great Pyramid, like overnight, slept in the thing, and he wouldn't tell anybody what happened to him when he went in there. He's like, you would not believe it, because the Great Pyramid is a very interesting topic for another podcast. And but yeah, Napoleon, Rosetta Stone. The other thing that we're getting a lot of now is Sumerian language.
Correct.
And a lot of Sumerian tablets are coming out that have only been discovered and excavated in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And translating that stuff's been a problem until recently. Some of the scholars now, this guy, Matt LaCroix, translates a ton of stuff, and the stories he comes out with are very interesting to hear those accounts. Like one of the things, the Sumerian Kings List, for example, is fascinating to read that, and it talks about a lineage that goes way back for rulers and the lifespans of some of these rulers. It's all, and so that stuff's coming new. So what are we going to know in 100 years? I think it's going to be quite a bit, especially some of this information now we can hand to these like AI machine learning language models and say like, okay, digest all the Sumerian tablets we have on file and find me patterns.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what comes out of that
Yeah,
stuff too.
huh.
Maybe they know what's up with dinosaurs too.
Right.
That's crazy.
I want to know now if the Sumerian tablets, any of them mention dinosaurs. I would love to hear that.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you got to think about it.
I didn't see any carvings.
Yeah.
It's not, the only reason why they even found dinosaurs is because of like the way geology works and stuff. Certain layer, like the new layer was pushed under an old layer, and
Right.
it came to the top, and then a sheep herder takes his sheep and sees this cliff and sees this bone sticking out of a cliff or something, and it's a femur, but it's way too big to be a human femur, right? And they're like, and logically they're like, yeah, giants, and that's a lot of where like the giant mythology kind of came from.
So while we're talking about giants, a quick little survey. What do we think? Were giant excavated? Are those bones real? Were giants walking around at one point, or you think it's fish?
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I maybe there were giants in the eyes of people back then, just not understanding. I could see like someone back then, an 8 foot tall person, which it is not common now, but we don't call them. Well, maybe friends call them giants. But,
Andre the Giant.
Well, there's always going to be exceptions, but still,
would he be considered a giant?
No.
Here's my thought when I'm sitting here trying to answer this question. I think about Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it possible that a species of human was coexisting with Neanderthal and Homo sapiens?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but due to reasons like maintaining a diet that or getting food, and then you're competing with these other very prolific species of humans, right? It's very possible that one, they were either pushed out by Neanderthal and or Homo sapiens, or both, or they went extinct, like
just
some of these
didn't
other
evolve,
because they couldn't keep up with environmental changes.
Right.
Well, to Greg's point, I mean, from what I understand, the like average height of a human, or even early humans was shorter than what we see today. You get the odd, like just a random person, like you look at, again, Andre the Giant with the Alton Giant, the guy that was like, I forget his name, Wadlow, the tallest man on record, right, from Alton, Illinois. Somebody like that just, sometimes those things happen, and then it's like, to them it's like, oh, this person really is like, that's a giant,
right?
In their eyes.
So that also kind of lends to my theory that they possibly existed at one time, because we still have a lot of DNA in common with our early ancestors. So
absolutely,
could they be an early ancestor of ours, and that genetic mutation or that genetic material pops up from time to time?
Well, I think we're all pretty scientific thinkers, and we probably agree that just about anything is possible.
Right.
So,
Nate, as a computer programmer working with clients, I bet you get tired of hearing, "Is it possible?"
I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Is definitely an interesting question. Is it possible?
Yeah. But anyway, dinosaurs.
Is it possible?
Hey, I will say,
say
this. I thought it was kind of cool in the last Jurassic Park, the Dominion, this last one. They have the logo. Okay, the logo is just a circle with the T-Rex going. Yeah, they have like a circle, like just facade or something made out of stone, like as part of this park, like walking, like in a plaza. It's just like a stone circle, and they set up the shot, to where the T-Rex they're all fighting, and the T-Rex like comes right into view, like right in the middle of this. Like, there's the logo.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Do you guys remember there was an oatmeal that had like dinosaur eggs in it? And when you put the hot water or milk or whatever it is, when it like activates these little candy eggs and they hatch or something like that. It was like,
Yes.
yeah,
I want some of that.
yeah.
You know what we don't have? We don't have a dinosaur cereal. Do we? Outside of Fruity Pebbles.
I bet they did. I bet they did back in the 80s. I just can't remember.
You know what's funny? It's funny that you said that because I was just thinking about Reptar from Rugrats.
Right.
And the Reptar cereal. Yeah. They're round, they're mean, they turn milk green. And I was like thinking, like, man, we gotta at least mention Reptar.
Oh yeah, we would be doing the people a disservice if we did not mention Reptar.
The Reptar on Ice episode used to be one of my favorites when they went to like there's like an ice show and the guy, in the Reptar costume was like freaked out by like lizards, and the babies found this little lizard and they think it's Reptar's baby, so they're trying to get it to Reptar. They end up on the ice and everything. And, those parents were very neglectful. those kids got into a lot of shit, man.
Right.
But they're out like on the middle of the ice. They bring this lizard to this guy, and he's like like freaking out.
Right.
Why do you think kids in society or our culture is so fascinated with dinosaurs? Why do you think that is?
They're powerful.
Jurassic Park and
I had an interest in dinosaurs before Jurassic Park came out, though.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Well, I mean,
it's like the imagination. Let your imagination run wild. Like,
yeah. You know what? Yeah.
And it's human nature to want to understand the things around us, and like you said, I mean, you go back a couple hundred years, and they didn't even understand that was a thing. The more we learn about the world around us, the more we're interested in like, oh, okay, so how did they exist and what was this thing? And, even, like you said, the more we learn about even just the dinosaurs, and like you see that evolve in pop culture and media and stuff, where it's like, okay, those early renditions of like the raptors in like Jurassic Park, they didn't have any feathers. And then now we're seeing other movies and things like that where it's like, ooh, now they have feathers because we understand that that's what it was. And
right,
it's interesting to learn and figure out things that we didn't know before.
Well, even so, like the dinosaurs as we picture them now, like we don't know exactly how they, like all we can see is their bones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's someone's imagination saying, hey, I think this, and I'm sure there's science behind it too, figuring out like
absolutely
how to tell what an animal looks like just by its bones, even with other endangered or extinct animals. Before we had photography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're badass. I think that's why I liked them as a kid. Because they're giant monster lizards with huge teeth.
Yeah,
well, that's part of it too.
As like a young boy, you hear about a dinosaur,
soldiers and stuff that could kill things and blow stuff up as a kid. So dinosaurs fit the bill perfectly for me, and they were animals. I already liked animals, and I already liked badass shit. So dinosaurs were badass.
Yeah, and
it was a natural fit. So that's kind of why I liked dinosaurs as a kid. I tend to like the T-Rexes and the Raptors, the stuff that was like really like the predatory dinosaurs at the time, more so than like the Brontosaurus or something.
That's a good point. I would agree with that for the most part.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's kind of cultural.
Well, unless we have anything else to add, I think we're going to end it on that note. You guys, thanks for hanging out with us at Culture Copia.
We do need to figure out our next couple topics. Do you still have that D20?
No.
Here somewhere?
Yes, it is, Nate. Yeah, it is in that mug, that brown mug.
Oh, down there. Okay, yeah. I think, if I'm keeping track correctly, it's my turn to roll.
Oh, that I have no idea.
So we'll pass that along. All right, so we need to figure out our next two, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got my list here. So let's do that.
D20. Roll for crit.
That's an 11. Number 11 on my list is St. Louis.
Sweet.
We're going to go STL show.
Yeah, we're gonna bring it home.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that,
I'll have to do my research on that.
Number 14 is baseball.
Okay.
So Rob and I have previously done a baseball episode, but we threw some old topics on this list to kind of revisit now that we've got the full gang here. So
okay.
So we've got, and that's kind of fitting too, man.
I was gonna say, baseball season.
Yeah, spring and summer, so that's perfect. So our next 2 episodes, STL Showcase, St. Louis, and baseball.
All right.
Next 2 topics.
Guys, we'll see you. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for hanging in.
Yeah,
this has
absolutely.
been another episode of
Oh, yeah.
Culture Copia Podcast.
Tupac lives.
Whoop whoop.